Finishing off season 1, we're whipping up something special for you sweet tooths out there. They're one of our fan favourites, the rum glazed pineapple.
This series is all about wild seasonal ingredients and the rich smoky flavours that fire can bring to your cooking.
We want to reintroduce you guys into the art of cooking in the great outdoors, using forgotten ingredients, mouth-watering recipes to create a true feast over fire. This is Fire, Smoke and Iron.
Common sorrel can be found in meadows and parks and occasionally in open woodlands. It is a fantastic wild ingredient that has a strong, sharp, tangy, citrusy flavour that many people say tastes a little bit like apple peel. We generally use common sorrel as a fresh salad leaf, but it's equally as delicious in things like soups and stews or in sweet dishes such as sorbets and syrups. It grows as a rosette very close to the ground. It's got these dark green glossy leaves, and the biggest feature is these pointed tails at the base of the leaf. It almost looks like someone's taken a pair of scissors and snipped the bottom. Always be sure to be certain what you're picking, and if in doubt, please do leave it out. Make sure that you're always thoroughly washing your ingredients before you eat them, and only take what you can consume at home, leaving plenty for our wildlife.
First things first, we need to light our fire. We're going to use birch bark, and we're just going to weigh that down with some kindling. Shower of sparks for ignition, followed by our primary fuel, secondary fuel or kindling, and then finally our tertiary fuel. As with all of our ingredients and products, it's really important to source everything as locally, as sustainably as possible, and that goes for wood too. We're using logs from a brilliant company called Thyme, whose approach to sustainable log production is first class. We've dropped a little discount code in the description below for you guys to use. So we're just going to take our pineapple, and it kind of sits a bit wobbly. So we're just going to nick off the bottom of it, and that should stand it up nice and proud. And then we're going to keep the greenery attached, and we're just going to put our knife in underneath and start removing the skin. Now you'll notice there's a few eyes, and you don't want to go much deeper because you'll only have about that much fruit until you get to the core. So these we'll take out with a smaller knife once we've peeled the rest of the pineapple. Interestingly, if you wanted to, you can take the rind, if you cut it a bit thicker or wider, and you can place fillets of fish in between it, tie it together and cook that directly in the coals for a few minutes. And the pineapple is going to inject a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of acidity, and it's going to create a nice smoky char on the fish as it steams within. But today we're just going to get rid of these. So we're just going to go all the way around. And as you can see, as we go around, it starts creating these sort of swells in the pineapple flesh, and that, as we glaze it, is going to catch all the sugar and the lime and the rum as it falls down and just create this wonderful glaze that will sort of crisp as the fire flares up. And that's pretty much it. There'll be a couple of little ones in there, but they'll cook down over the fire. It's just the big ones that we're really worried about. So for our glaze, we're going to need to cook that out over the fire. So we're just going to grab an enamel saucepan, and we're going to take 2 limes. So we're going to zest our limes and make sure we're getting all of our zest from the top and the tail as well. Don't want to leave any behind. Now we're going to juice our limes, but to get the most juice we can out of them, we're just going to roll them on our board, and that's going to start breaking down the cells within it, hopefully giving us more juice. So with our limes rolled, we've split them in half, and we're just going to squeeze all the juice out into the pan. We're going to add some soft brown sugar, and that's going to give us a nice dark caramel kind of sauce to glaze on top with. And we're going to add a little pinch of salt. So the last ingredient for our glaze, but the most important, is our rum. Now this is made locally in Dorking from a gin distillery called the Gin Kitchen. Today we're using their dark spiced rum, which is aged in Surrey oak barrels, and it's delicious. So we're going to add a really nice glug of that into our sauce. It's going to be really sweet, intensely limey, and full of rum. But remember, we're only basting it on the outside of our pineapple, so we want to get as much flavour into that flesh as we can as it cooks. It doesn't need to be on a high heat, just nice, low, indirectly from the fire, just to dissolve the sugar. The sauce is just starting to bubble away, so we're going to grab a chain with a hook, and we're going to hang this pineapple indirectly, close to the flames, but we're still going to cook this indirectly. But this hook is going to go through the fleshy leaves, and this is going to hang just like that next to the fire. So we're going to place it on our hook and just over our frame. So we're just going to grab a small skillet and we're going to place that under our pineapple, and that's just going to catch any of the glaze as we apply it, and that will slowly reduce over time next to the fire, and we can use that to drizzle over our dish at the end of the day. And then our second job is to make a thyme brush to baste our glaze on. So we're just going to take a green stick or a fresh stick and a penknife, and we're going to shave the bark away. So once we've shaved the stick off, we're just going to singe it over the fire, and that's just going to help to sterilise it after we've removed the bark. So just for a couple of seconds, and that should get rid of any of the wisps from the stick. And then we're going to take a large bunch of thyme. So we're just going to thread our stick through the big bunch, some butcher's string or any kind of cord, and then we'll just tie that off on the loose ends. And this is our brush which we're going to apply our base with. So this is going to add lots of nice herbaceous notes. It won't make the pineapple overly thymy, it's just going to add a more complex flavour as it cooks. Just going to apply the glaze nice and liberally on the first go. We want to make sure at all times that our fire is nice and stoked on one side. We always want a nice high heat because it needs to come across and penetrate this flesh as it cooks. And we know it's cooked because when we insert a knife, it's going to be like putting a knife into butter. It's going to be nice, super soft, and we're going to then let it cool and slice it nice and thinly for our platters. So we want to be basting our pineapple every 10 minutes or so, just to make sure we're creating nice layers which are going to sort of caramelise as it cooks. The pineapple's going to take an hour or so, so as it cooks we need to remember to make sure that we turn it so it gets an all-round 360-degree heat, and that's just going to make sure that it cooks really nice and evenly. So our pineapple's looking gorgeous. It's just had over an hour's cooking. We're just going to give it a little test with the tip of a knife in the centre, and it should go in and it should feel like butter. There shouldn't be any resistance until you meet the core. So you can see the pineapple is gorgeous. It's golden brown with the rum glaze. All those little cuts we put it in earlier to remove the eyes has got to develop this nice crisp crust on the outside. So we're going to take the hook out and lay it down on our board, ready for cutting up. So our glaze is reduced, super dark, caramelly, all that brown sugar and the rum. As this cools down with the amount of sugar that's in it, it will sort of develop this rich syrup. So we don't want to let it go cold, but we're going to catch it whilst it's still warm. So we're going to thinly slice the pineapple now, just across the width. We're going up with nice rounds, sort of nice and yellow in the middle, and this sort of caramelized crust on the outside. Try and cut them as thin as possible. And then what we end up with is these little golden slices of sunshine, nice and caramelized on the outside. And this is the perfect light way to finish a nice sunny spring day's feast over fire. So we're just going to take our slices of pineapple and we're just going to fan them around the plate, and by fanning it out, that's going to create this little divot in the middle where we can drop in a nice big scoop of our clotted cream. So now that we've got a wonderfully tender pineapple, we just need to finish with a final flourish of crunch, and we're going to add in some texture using some ginger nut biscuits. And that we're just going to scatter over, and that's going to add a really nice warmth from the ginger as well. So the ginger really complements the pineapple and the rum. So because the pineapple is nice and acidic, we're going to offset that with some creaminess from some really nice local clotted cream. Libby's Larder. It's possibly the richest cream that you can get your hands on. And then we'll take just a really good scoop. We're going to place that right in the middle. Then we've got our sorrel that Becky picked for us earlier, which is going to give us a nice sort of lemony, almost apple rind flavour. And for the very final flourish, our rum and brown sugar caramel syrup. So here we have it, everyone. Our vibrant pineapple finished off with the perfect partnership of ginger, sorrel and a super rich clotted cream. If that doesn't get your taste buds tingling, I don't know what will. If you get the chance to recreate this for family and friends at home, then please do share it with us on social media. We'd love to see what you guys create. That's it for our selection of spring recipes. I really hope you've enjoyed this feast of content. We'll be back in the summer with a range of new ingredients and new recipes for you guys to enjoy.
If you've liked our series, please do subscribe to support us, and most importantly, keep up to date with all of our future releases. And we'll see you on the next one.